Welcome to Scare Confident. I'm your host, Tiffany Souter. Okay, so you maybe listened to, maybe didn't. My husband and I just had our anniversary, 19 years. Woot woot, so proud of that. So for our anniversary, we went and had Saturday, we left the house at 2 o'clock, 2:30, and spent the afternoon together actually doing some little closet zhuzh up for JR, which was very fun. And then we went out for dinner. And I talk about in the course, Life of And Academy, one of the things that helps keep us sane is a quarterly meeting between JR and I. And we used our anniversary date as the opportunity to do that, to get caught up, not just on each other, but also to step back and kind of at a 10,000 foot view, look at our family, look at what's coming, assess the past quarter, see where we're at, and plan really, really well together. And I told him I was so happy. He brought a list of things to talk to me about. And I was like, babe, I feel so loved right now that you took the time to hear me over the last few weeks as I was knew we were going to go out. And I'd been saying hey, these are some things I just really want your time and attention on. And we talked about those things. So if you're not doing this, I don't care if you run your life on the Own the Ordinary system or not, but I am telling you this quarterly check-in with your spouse, not just, and partner it with something fun. It should be both a business and a work trip. I say trip, business, that's the same thing. I mean, both work and fun. It doesn't work very well if it's just this business exchange, the business of the family. But when you're in that zone of having fun together, when you're in the zone of doing something together that you both enjoy, there's all kinds of good serotonin and stuff going on. Use that time to also really think thoughtfully about the family and what needs to be solved. Because he is in and out a lot, with travel. I need these check-ins to know that some key things that I'm driving forward, he is totally on board with, and that I'm not running away with the farm on accident. So one of the key things that we talked about was I really want to just put more structure in place for our older girls, especially to teach them financial responsibility. I feel like that was a huge gift my parents gave me. I totally knew what things cost when I left the house. I understood the relationship between work and money. I understood the difference between meeting my long-term needs and fulfilling some of my short-term ones. I feel like I really understood that when I left the house and went into life. We are really doing a very poor job at that because it's just easier to buy them what they want, but that doesn't create good infrastructure. So that was a conversation where I wanted to get philosophically aligned with him on what do we want to teach, what order, what happens in middle school, what happens in high school, what happens in college, what are we going to pay for? So he and I are aligned as we start to talk to the girls about it. So that's an example of one of those conversations that's pretty tough to tweak out in the last 6 minutes before everybody goes to bed. And so it was an awesome time for us to sit and have conversations about that. We also talked about our 2025 trip schedule, which seems insane because we're not even half of the way through 2024. But the requests for our time start to come really fast and furious, especially as we get into the third and fourth quarter for the following year. So we have learned get ahead of that. What are we going to do for spring break and fall break next year? What trips is he going to take in the first quarter? Again, looking ahead so that we are proactive and we are the ones in charge of our lives. So you care less about my family than you do your own family, but this is my just plea to you is take time once a quarter, you and your spouse, and go spend time, have fun together, have a great time, laugh, enjoy each other, spend some money, do whatever it takes. And also talk about the business of the family and let the other person know that you want to use some of the time that you're together to talk about some of these bigger picture things. Give them a warning shot so that it's not a surprise. Because when it's a surprise and not everybody's in the same zone, that doesn't work. And for us, we usually start with the fun zone and then move into business zone. You do what works for you. But I find we sort of start on a really good place and then we can go into these tougher conversations being hey, we actually really like each other. We're a really good team. This is really fun. And it's not all weird then when we move into the fun things if it didn't go as well as everybody planned or not everybody gets what they want. So that is what I've learned. I'm telling you, it is life to me. We always go away in November. I've said that 1,000 times. So that is one of our business meetings. Our anniversary is in April. And so that is usually like a trigger for me. I like kind of like pair those things together as a second one. And then there's one in the summer, which is kind of survival mode. Honestly, that one's pretty lightweight because our heads are bobbing above the waterline just slightly. And then one usually when we go back to school, like that's a big transition moment, and like getting everybody where they're supposed to go, making sure that everybody's supported and I have things in place and it's before the holidays. That's another key like check-in time for us. So again, it can be actually on the quarter for you. It can be 90 days exactly apart. I tend to pair it with seasons of change or times when he and I would already be together because it's just hard for us to get a lot of time together. And so I use it really strategically. So anyway, we're probably 2 years on this system. And I did not like announce to JR that we are going to do a quarterly check-in and talk about the business of the family. I just like started doing it, like keeping a list of things that I wanted to talk to him about and using this time when I had his attention to move things forward. And now he's like also bringing things that he sees coming, and it's like awesome. Anyways, I'm a big, big fan. I think we don't take the business of our families seriously enough, not because we don't mean to, but because we don't know how to create the time for it. And this has been a big solve. And I just took it from my work life. This is what we do in my work life. Why don't we do this in our personal lives too? So try it. If it's clumsy at the beginning, keep going, keep practicing it, be honest with one another. Like, hey, we're trying some new vocabulary with each other. And maybe we thought we'd get through everything. Maybe we only got through one thing, whatever. At least you're making progress. The other thing I'll say that we do is when we have our complete list of things we want to get through, because you don't always have time to get through all of it, is we both pick our most important thing so that that gets covered. I tend to be the talker and JR tends to be the listener. And so if I don't stop and say, hey, which one is most important to you? We will get through all of my things and I will feel so good about it. And then he will feel like we never got to talk about the thing that was most important to him. And so I have had to learn to stop and ask that, because I'm like a very high quick start. I get right to it. I'm like pretty charged up usually about the thing that I want to talk about. And I don't stop and think about and ask for his priorities and perspective. So I think he would say I'm getting much better at that. So anyways, this is my recommendation. Do it. It will help. I promise. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Scared Confident. Until next time, keep telling fear, you will not decide what happens in my life. I will.